What's up, guys, and welcome into another episode of Goal Line Dynasty. This is our part 2 of our two-part series about trading those first-round 2023 rookie picks the week of the NFL draft. So last video, we went through 101 to 106. If you haven't seen that video yet, I do have that down in the subscription. No, it's not subscription. The description down below. Yes. Thank you, Tyler. It's been a long day. Anyway, so we're going to pick up in this video from 107 to the 112. So, Tyler, I'm going to let you kick it off here. Give me some trade scenarios around that 107.
Like, comment, subscribe. But here's the first one. Daniel Jones, the 107, a late 24 first for Jalen Hurts.
I'll take Jalen Hurts. 107, dude. If you can give away 107 with an average quarterback and a random 24 first pick, I'll gladly send that away for an elite quarterback. Jalen Hurts is at worst like the 104 in Superflex startups right now, and there's not a lot of hesitation for me on this one. Daniel Jones, I know he just got a contract, but I mean, let's face it, he doesn't have a ton of job security despite that contract. Like, nobody would be surprised if Daniel Jones loses his job in the next 2 or 3 years. Everyone would be shocked if that happened to Jalen Hurts. 107, best case scenario is either Will Levis or Jahmyr Gibbs. Everyone else is probably gone that you're putting in that top tier, right? So I think Daniel Jones plus one of those guys, plus a random 24 first. If I'm getting Jalen Hurts, I'm probably betting on my team to be pretty good in 2023, so it'll be a later first. So yeah, that's a really good piece to throw in to upgrade yourself to an elite quarterback.
Yeah, that's a dream scenario. I actually kind of did the same thing with the receivers earlier on this offseason in a one quarterback league. I traded Michael Pittman and what turned out to be the 111 and the 112 for AJ Brown. And I don't look back on that one whatsoever, because looking at, the one QB, 110 and 111, that's like Michael Pittman in 2 seconds for AJ Brown. I don't think anybody's doing that. But you're giving 2 late firsts to move up from essentially a 5th or 6th round startup pick to a top 5 startup pick. So I am doing that 100% of the time, even if they're my last 2 first round picks. Let's see, thin pickings here at the 107. All right, so this one is Kenny Pickett and the 107 or Deshaun Watson.
I don't really believe in Kenny Pickett, to be completely honest with you. And I do think Deshaun Watson is going to rebound. I don't know if he's going to return to form and be a top 5 fantasy quarterback, but being a yearly top 10, now that he has another year under his belt in Cleveland, he now has Elijah Moore. Cleveland's offense hasn't gotten any weaker, right, in the last year or so. This is a really close one for me, but I think I'm going to go with the Deshaun Watson side, just for the pure upside with the pick. Now, the 107, you might get Will Levis. You're probably getting Jahmyr Gibbs at this point. Or, who knows? Jahmyr Gibbs could go to a shit landing spot, and 107 is a complete wild card. But that's the thing, right? 107 is the wild card. Deshaun Watson, significantly less of a wild card. We've seen him do it before. I'm not going to call him an elite quarterback, but I think I am going to take him in this trade scenario.
I think I'm going to call Deshaun Watson an elite quarterback, and I think I'm fine giving up Kenny Pickett and the 107. I think they're 2 question marks to get that elite quarterback. I think he's definitely capable of finishing top 8 multiple times over the course of the next, 3 to 5 years. So that's my dynasty outlook right now, and I'm definitely taking Deshaun Watson in that situation.
Yeah, I'm glad we agree on that one. I know Deshaun Watson, kind of to digress a little bit here. He's a good buy low candidate at the moment. He really is. Nobody is paying what he's worth, and somebody is going to accept less than what he's worth just based off of trends. I would be very surprised if Watson is not at least QB 10 in 2023. Like, I think that is the bare minimum floor that you're going to get with Deshaun Watson. And I don't think anyone is going to be surprised if he does creep back up into the top 5. So yeah, this is a pretty good scenario. Pickett, nobody was high on last year. People just happened to take him at 103 or 104 because they kind of had to in Superflex leagues, right? And then the 107 is such a question mark at the moment. Watson is significantly less of a question mark. So give me Watson over 107 and Pickett.
What if it's Tua in the 107 for Deshaun Watson? Because I don't think I'm doing that.
If it's what?
Tua in the 107 for Deshaun Watson.
No, I can't. There's not many scenarios where I'm going after Tua right now because, I mean, dude, he just had an interview where he's already contemplated retirement, and we've seen it happen before to Luke Kuechly, right? One too many concussions, it forces you out of the league way too early. And I hate saying this out loud, but I'm not betting on Tua not receiving another concussion at some point in the next 2 years. Like, dude takes massive hits. He gets absolutely shellacked. He doesn't protect himself well enough out there. And I'm not betting on him. I feel bad saying this out loud, but I'm not betting on him still being in the NFL in 3 years' time. So I'm staying away from that entirely. I'm keeping Watson there.
I think I might be able to take Tua in the 107, knowing that I'm at worst getting Will Levis, Jahmyr Gibbs, JSN there. But yeah, I'm ready to move on to the 108.
All right, so this one's interesting. I know we said we're there's not a lot of tier down discussion to be had at this point in the draft because 107 we've talked about between last video and the beginning of this one. We've got 4 quarterbacks, we've got 2 running backs, and we have 1 receiver. Those guys are all likely at the moment the top 7 picks. So top 8 is when the true wild cards come out. So 1 for 1, are you taking 108 or a random 24 first?
Probably. Oh, well, I mean, is it random? Give me, what place did they finish last year? You know?
I'm not even going to tell you. I'm going to say you're spinning a wheel. And I mean, think about it. There is a 66% chance that this is pick 8 or better next year.
I think I'd have to take it. I think I'd re-roll it because I know that this is a tier break. I wouldn't, this isn't the deal I would offer. I would offer this plus, I would offer the 108 for a random 24 first plus a second round pick. And I get the 204 or the 205 on top of that. If I have to just re-roll it, then I will. But I'm definitely asking a lot of people for that plus a second before I just send it, before I pull the trigger on it.
I'm going to take the 24 first. Assuming that it's completely random, I'm going to take the 24 first. I'm really not going to think twice about it. And my reason is, man, like I don't like the second and third tier of this 2023 class. It's not that I don't like them, but it's just I don't love them. There's not a single player outside of those top 7, arguably even the top 6, that I really love. Like, I like Jordan Addison, big fan of his, but I don't want to put a bunch of chips into him right now. Same thing with Charbonnet, Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, Michael Mayer, like get into all of those guys. There's a lot of people that I like, but I would honestly rather punt the pick to 2024. We know that there's 2 solid quarterbacks coming in. We know that there's at least 2 solid running backs. We know that there's at least 2 solid receivers next year, right? And I think there is a tight end or 2 in there as well. So give me the 66% chance of either keeping this pick or improving it in what I think is actually going to be a stronger class in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely it's right on the line for me. I mean, this is right where I'm comfortable. I'm moving off of it when I know that, I'm not getting one of those star-studded guys, but I still do want them to pay a premium for knowing that it's not the 112, 111, 110, I want a little bit of premium for the pick being right now and not having to wait next year till next year to see what it's going to be. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on it.
It's fair, and it's a good call out. There is more value to be had in this trade, right? Like I'm taking the 2024 first over the 108, but to your point, I think you could get more on top. So there is some missing value here. I like that you pointed that out. So if you're thinking of a similar trade for this, try to get additional value on top. If it doesn't work and you're like me, take the original deal anyway, but whatever. One more at the 108 before I let you take it over again. 1-for-1 again, 108 or Javonte Williams?
Javonte. I think Javonte. If you could guarantee that Tajay Spears, Kendre Miller, Roshan Johnson, Zach Evans, any of those guys, if you could guarantee that any of them, got Javonte Williams capital and turned into Javonte Williams on the football field from what we've seen, I think you would take them at the 108. So I think I'm comfortable with Javonte for the 108.
I hate that I'm saying this, but I'm actually going to take the 108. I'm going to take the 108 because I think that one of those running backs that you just said, or Charbonnet, Kendre Miller, whoever else, right? There's a lot of running backs that if they get day 2 capital, they are going to creep up into this top 10 of our first rounds. And the main difference between those guys is none of them are coming off of a catastrophic ACL injury. And I say catastrophic, like Javonte Williams didn't just tear his ACL, like his entire knee was just obliterated. They don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1, let alone training camp, right? So, and that makes me nervous. New coaching staff is coming in, right? The coaching staff being Peyton, he comes in, he has never just used one running back, right? Like, look at Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. They were both fantastic fantasy assets simultaneously, but he never committed to just one running back. It's always a tandem. Javonte Williams is going to be recovering all of 2023. Now, he will be playing while he's recovering, but he's going to be recovering all of 2023. I think that Denver is going to be that team that takes a day 2 running back, or they make some sort of splash. There's no way that they go into the season with Samaje Perine as their only other running back. They have him, Tony Jones, and some guy named Demiria Crockett, who I've never heard of in my life. They're drafting a running back, I think round 3 or earlier, and it's not going to be fun being a Javonte Williams owner when that happens. So give me 108.
Yeah, I mean, iffy. I don't know. I like Javonte a lot, and I don't know that any of those running backs are going to be better than him or enough to really make it less than a 60-40 share for him, if anything. But moving on to the 109 here, this one's going to be a package deal, actually. It's the 109 and the 107 plus a random 24 second for Garrett Wilson and Antonio Gibson.
That's so 3 firsts. No, 107, 109, and a second.
Let's hypothetically say you are on the clock here, and this 107 is Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I don't think that's going to happen in any leagues. I don't think JSN is going to be there at 107, but with running back hype on Gibbs and or Charbonnet, it could happen, right? Especially if JSN goes to like the Patriots or some shitty spot like that. I think that
I'm thinking more quarterback hype and maybe another receiver creeps up over JSN in someone's league. All it takes at the 107, it takes 1 out of 6 people to make a mistake for you to have really JSN sitting in your lap and for that to happen.
And
I'm saying hypothetically here, if he is on the clock, it's the 107, 109, the 24 second for basically just Garrett Wilson. Antonio Gibson is not relevant here.
Yeah, Gibbs. But here's the thing. I mean, something happens to Brian Robinson. Gibson is a top 15 running back, right? Like he's going to have some standalone value, as is Brian Robinson. But both of them have a ton of value if either one of them goes down. And I mean, granted, Washington could draft a running back. I think they're actually pretty heavy favorite, or not favorites, but they're like top 3 in the Bijan Robinson betting sweepstakes. So who knows there? I'm actually going to take the Wilson and Gibson side. Reason being, Wilson, I mean, he just had a shit ton of yards as a rookie. The Jets, they're going to figure out a way. They're still going to get Aaron Rodgers this offseason, I think. And Garrett Wilson's going to get to play with Rodgers for the next 2 years. They just traded away Elijah Moore, which was like the big competition, if you could say that, with Garrett Wilson. Wilson is going to have just a tremendous year. And I think a tremendous dynasty longevity, I guess you could say. You want JSN to turn out to be like Garrett Wilson. If JSN turns out to be like Garrett Wilson, you're going to be pumped. I like JSN, but we've talked about it a million times. He's more of a slot guy. He's probably not going to have a higher ceiling than Garrett Wilson at the next level. Probably just looking at best case scenario, you're getting Garrett Wilson with him. I'm going to take the sure thing. I'm going to take Wilson. And this time next year, when Antonio Gibson is going to be a free agent, I'm just going to cross my fingers in hopes that he goes somewhere where he can be a solid tandem running back, call it a day. But nothing that I love at 109. I'm going to assume there's nothing that I love at my random second next year. So I'm going to take the sure thing with Garrett Wilson.
All right, and then last one here for the 109. It's 109 and Drake London for the 104. So Drake London, the 109 for basically the third quarterback off the board.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to take 109 and Drake London because I really don't think, like, in a perfect world, all three quarterbacks would go to a solid spot, but the world that we live in is not perfect. And yeah, I'm going to take Drake London in the 109. Drake London has a sky-high ceiling, right? People already value him as a top 15 dynasty asset as a wide receiver. And if he can – I mean, he has the target share. He has the ability to do it. He's fantastic. It's just, when is Atlanta going to get their quarterback? It's not going to be this year. More than likely not going to be this year. But they could firmly be in the competition for the quarterbacks next year, Drake May and Caleb Williams, right? So who knows? I'm going to take Drake London, the 109. I like the ceilings there. I like the ceilings, and I'm afraid of picking at 104 this year, if I'm entirely honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw from Drake London this year with his target share numbers were ridiculous. Top 5 in the league as a rookie, even though that Falcons offense was absolutely horrible. But I'm going to take him over the risk, and I'm gonna take what I think is a top 12 dynasty wide receiver at this moment.
Yeah, no, it's solid. I mean, it's an interesting trade. It's an interesting trade. If you're really like desperate needing a quarterback and you have to take it at 104, I think it's not an unfair trade to make, right? But I do think that the value lies with the Drake London side. I think that there's a lot of people that if you tried to buy Drake London, they would ask for the 104 straight up just for Drake London, right? So I think 109 is just kind of icing on the cake here.
Yeah, I'm with you. But yeah, ready to move on to the 110.
Excellent. Okay, so 110, first one for one, 110 or Jahan Dotson?
Jahan Dotson. He was productive as a fantasy wide receiver, and I am hoping that Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston, whoever's being drafted there, I'm hoping that they turn into Jahan Dotson. So I am taking him pretty much all day here.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Again, rookie fever is going to take over, and a lot of people are going to prefer the 110. But we saw Jahan Dotson. He did it. He did it last year. He scored, 3 touchdowns in his first ever game. Obviously, not something that you're going to expect every single game out of him, but he is very solid. He is incredibly solid. I like him a lot, and he complements. Or him and Terry McLaurin complement each other so well in that Washington offense that I just think it's really good for both of them there. And then Sam Howell is going to get the starting nod in Washington this year. They've already said it. Maybe they make a splash on draft day and they do something, but I would be very surprised if Sam Howell is not their day one starter. I was a really big fan of Sam Howell coming out of college last year. I hope that Carolina drafted him instead of Matt Corral when they traded up for the pick, but it is what it is there. But I think Sam Howell is going to find a lot of value in Jahan Dotson. I really do. I think it's going to be a match made in heaven. And while Terry McLaurin is the true wide receiver one there, I think from a fantasy standpoint, people are going to start preferring Dotson over McLaurin, even by the midway point of the 2023 season. So I think 110 is a very fair offer for Dotson.
Yeah, it's fair, and I don't think anybody would complain when they saw it in the league chat. I think it's pretty much what you'd expect to pay and expect to receive. But I would prefer to eliminate the risk and take the player at this point and take what the pick can buy me at the 110.
Yeah, and I honestly think with how trends are, I think that might be the unpopular opinion. Like, I think a lot of people watching this video would actually prefer the 110 over Jahan Dotson, right? I mean, again, couldn't be us, but I think we are going to, receive some flack for that. But it is what it is. Like you said, give us the guy that we've seen do it before, not the guy that we're just guessing is going to do it. But I have one more to go over at the 110 before I give it back to you. This one's interesting. This one's really interesting. Would you rather have Treylon Burks and the 110 or T. Higgins?
That is really tough because there's a chance that, Treylon Burks could improve at quarterback and could, finish within, 30 points of T. Higgins this year. And you could be getting the free first out of it. But I think in terms of value right now, I'll go T. Higgins, just knowing that I can get a lot more from him on the trade market. And T. Higgins is a sell guy for me just because I like a lot of the guys that are in his tier better than him because they're not trapped behind Jamar Chase. And if they are trapped behind a really solid wide receiver like Devonta Smith is, he's proven that he can post a top 12 season. Unlike T. Higgins. T. Higgins has not done that yet. So, and it's not really a lot of health concerns as well make me want to move off of him. But just knowing what I can move T. Higgins for, I'm going to take him over the package.
Yeah, and the side I'm going to take because I'm Mr. T. Higgins over here. He is still my Dynasty wide receiver 5, and I apologize to absolutely no one for that. I love T. Higgins. The thing that makes this interesting is, the 110 is the 110. We can guess what that's going to be. Treylon Burks. I think he is a weird player to have right now because fast forward 1 year. Let me ask you 2 questions. Let's say this time next year, he's in the same tier as T. Higgins. Does that surprise you?
Not really. No, it doesn't shock me, but I would be thrilled with it.
So now let me ask you this. If this time next year, Treylon Burks was valued as, let's say, the wide receiver 28, would that surprise you?
Also, no. That would also severely disappoint me.
Exactly. Treylon Burks is an absolute wild card right now. He had a solid enough rookie year, right? Like I think he definitely showed flashes, but we all wanted to see a bit more from him. Plus, he had a couple of injuries there. Tennessee just wasn't really right in 2022 anyway. But Treylon Burks, you're essentially just re-rolling him as a rookie in 2023. And as much as I like the ceiling of Burks, I'm not taking the risk of him and the rookie at 110. Give me T. Higgins, and I will take that all the way to the bank. I'll be very happy with that.
Well, I will take it to the bank and cash it for something else. But this one is actually pretty fun. So I have Jalen Waddle and the 111 or TJ Hawkinson and the 104.
Jalen Waddle in the 111 or Hawkinson in 104.
No tight end premium at all.
Oh, man. I'm going to take Hawkinson in the 104 because here's the thing. Hawkinson is better, leaps and bounds than whatever I'm going to get at 111. And Jalen Waddle, in my opinion, a little overrated, right? I still have him in my top 10 Dynasty wide receivers, but he's like a boomer bust guy. He goes out there, maybe he's scoring 25, 30 points in a week. Check the next week, he got you 7, right? Like it's boomer bust. He shares the field with Tyreek Hill, a player who is better than him and has a very similar talent, and that talent is speed and agility. And you never know who it's going to be that pops off for Miami in any given week, but more often than not, it is going to be Tyreek Hill. Could be both of them, right? Doesn't surprise anyone, but could be both of them. JSN has the ceiling to be what Jalen Waddle is from a fantasy standpoint. And his floor, while much less than what Waddle currently is his floor is still probably top 18 wide receiver, very worst case scenario with JSN. So I would take Waddle over JSN in a 1-for-1, but it's close. I'm taking Hawkinson over 111 100 times out of 100 times. That's not close whatsoever. That closes the gap for me. I'm taking Hawk in the 104.
Yeah, I think with Hawk in the 104, you're getting, I mean, if you look at it in terms of startup value, you're getting, two guys that are drafted in the top 6 rounds. I mean, the 104, Anthony Richardson, is getting drafted like the tail end of the third, more so like I think early third round, mid third round, whereas, Jalen Waddle is going maybe 8 picks before him. Just slightly, and then TJ Hawkinson is being drafted well over the guys at the 111. So I think you're moving laterally on one piece, and then definitely moving up a big gap from Hawkinson and the 111.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, definitely a slim field here. This one, I think we're going to be on the same side, but only really other trade on DLF that's worth noting here. It's 111 and George Pickens for the 106.
I'll take the 106. I'm not a fan of Pickens. I'm not a fan of Pickens in the slightest bit. If I'm going to own any wide receiver in Pittsburgh, it's going to be Deontay Johnson. We talked about him. I think it was about a month ago at this point. We had a buy low wide receiver video, and Deontay Johnson was firmly on there for me. So George Pickens is fun to watch. He's fun to root for. He can make the spectacular catch. But I just don't think he's ever going to be a consistent factor in fantasy football. I think that he offers some really big spike weeks, but I think he also offers some really low floor weeks, right? Like no one is shocked if George Pickens puts up only 4.5 points on the week. And that bothers me. That's not enough to close the gap here for me. You said it was the 106, right? That's what you said?
Yes, the 106, and I'm with you. I'm not breaking up the 106 for George Pickens and the 111. I'm sticking with the elite asset.
Yeah, the 106 is worst case scenario in my mind. The 106 is either Gibbs or Will Levis, right? Could be one of the guys that I have ahead of him. Those other 3 quarterbacks in Bijan and JSN, but I will take even Gibbs or Levis over Pickens and the 111. So I think that's a no-brainer. I think George Pickens is just highly overrated right now. And if you can use him to tier up, 5 or 6 spots in the first round, by all means, go for it.
I'm 100% using him in this case, no matter, unless I'm starting 16 players in a 12-team league, then I might need to think about it a little bit more, but in most cases, I'm taking the 106.
Yeah. So I got 2 of the 112 here for you to go over, and I think both of them are interesting. I get the feeling we're going to agree on both of them, but we'll see. So would you rather have 112 and Daniel Bellinger or DJ Moore?
DJ, no, give me the 112. I'll take my reroll on whatever wide receiver is there out of the 3, out of Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnson, and Zay Flowers. I'm going to take the 112 over DJ Moore, who's going to a god awful passing offense, and I'm gonna take that pick.
I'm taking DJ Moore. I wouldn't even think twice about it. I mean, at the 112, you're drafting a receiver that you hope is just going to return, low end at worst, low end wide receiver 2 production. And DJ Moore, worst case scenario, we saw it with Baker Mayfield last year. It's low end wide receiver 2 production. I think that I'm not a big fan of Justin Fields as a passer. I'm not putting a lot of stock into the Chicago passing offense. But to be fair, a lot of people, I'm not comparing DJ Moore to A.J. Brown, but to be fair, a lot of people were saying this about A.J. Brown last year. Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense is not efficient enough to support A.J. Brown. It's going to downtick him a little bit. There's no scenario in Chicago where DJ Moore performs worse than he did with Baker Mayfield throwing him the ball in 2022. With that being said, I'm looking at DJ Moore's floor at being a wide receiver 17, wide receiver 18, and that is I'm more than happy to take that over the 112. Daniel Bellinger, would affect this deal if they hadn't signed Darren Waller this offseason. But with Darren Waller in town, Daniel Bellinger really doesn't do much for me anymore. So I'm kind of throwing that out. I'll take DJ Moore over the 112. I would take DJ Moore even over the 108 and 109. That's where the conversation starts for me. So anything after that, I'm taking DJ Moore in a 1-for-1 on picks.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I'm re-rolling. I mean, the Chicago offense was so historically bad last year in terms of their passing volume. I don't want any part of it, and I think DJ Moore I think his floor is going to definitely drop from where it's been, even though he has had horrendous quarterback play. It's like, how could it get any worse? Well, he get worse if he's not getting any targets, because I mean, he might be getting a big target share, but he's definitely not going to be getting a lot of targets unless it's a huge swing out of the Chicago offense. So I think that those three wide receivers, I think in a lot of people's eyes, have the chance to be a top 15 wide receiver. So for that reason, I'm going to definitely take my chances on picking the right one. Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison are definitely have been highly regarded for a long time. Zay Flowers crept up boards more recently this offseason, but I'm definitely going to take my chances on one of those guys.
Well, we disagreed on that one. We might even disagree on this next one. I want you to give your take first, though, because I really don't know which way I'm leaning on this next one. Would you rather have 112 and a 2024 first? Now, the guy that's sending you this 24 first has the 112. So I think it's safe to assume that his 24 pick is going to be late, especially if he acquires Saquon Barkley. So are you taking Saquon Barkley or the 112 plus a 24 first?
This one's definitely context related. If I'm nowhere near competing, I would probably do this and look to use those assets in other trades. But if I am anywhere close to competing, like, I would probably much rather use those picks to go out and buy, just do both of those picks, get me, Stephon Diggs or something like that. Does Saquon, I mean, I think there's a lot of other ways I could sell Saquon. I don't think it's a bad value, but I mean, again, I think you're getting, 2 quarters for $1 here. You might be kicking the can down the road if you have a really bad roster, but I don't love it, but I wouldn't, scream about it and cry about it if it happened in one of my leagues. I think it's not great value, but it is what it is.
So you're taking the Saquon side in most?
In most cases, I'm taking the Saquon side, unless it's a really deep league. The context would definitely be something to look at here, but I think in most cases I'm taking Saquon side.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to take the Saquon side as well. I'm just going to kind of reverberate what you said about it just not being enough value. The last pick in the first round this year, and this guy who's trading you the pick, he just won, right? He just won the league. He has pick 112. You're giving him Saquon Barkley, who is going to help him win again. Best case scenario, you're getting the 112 this year and maybe the 110 next year. That's just not enough for Saquon Barkley, in my opinion. I like what you said. Even if you're not competing, this value just doesn't seem quite right. I'd rather kick the can. I would hold on to Saquon, wait until he starts getting hype around training camp or does this or does that, or puts up his first 25-point week in week 1 or week 2, and then you can sell him a bit more, right? So it's not enough for me. I know that there's kind of an argument against Saquon right now, since I think he's actually holding out at the moment. He's refusing to sign the franchise tag, but they're going to get a deal done. They will 110% get a deal done with him. I'm not worried about him holding out in 2023 whatsoever. So give me Barkley. He's going to be fine. And he's worth more than the last pick of the first round in these next 2 drafts.
Yeah, just like find a different trade partner on that one. Find someone who was middle of the pack last year and, get their 24 first and maybe a future second, or, I mean, obviously ask for 2 firsts, But maybe I think obviously one top 5 pick is worth more than 2 picks that are at the very back end of the first round. This year has shown that people don't. It's a lot harder to find someone to trade up with than it is to find someone to trade back with. If you want to trade back, I mean, people are doing that all day long, really. It's a lot harder to move up nowadays. So I'm going to look to get the premium asset instead of breaking this one down for this deal.
Yep. So at least we agreed on this one. I don't think we'll ever agree on a DJ Moore take, but it is what it is, right? But thanks for tuning in here on Goal Line Dynasty, guys. Like I said, if you missed our last video where we went over what to do with picks 101 through 106, I have that down in the description, the video description below. Hopefully you take some value out of this one. Now, obviously, all of these values are going to shake up immensely after the NFL draft. And I think we're definitely going to be looking at some of these trades in a different light after we see some landing spots and we can actually project some of these guys. But the next time we do a video, chances are, we might sneak one in between now and then, but chances are the next video that we do, Tyler, is going to be highlighting rookies with their real life landing spots. And dude, this time of year always it always gets me going. One of my favorite days of the year is always the NFL draft. And I cannot wait, dude. I feel like a kid on Christmas morning.
Well, good thing for you. It's 3 days long and we get to enjoy it for a couple of days. But we're really looking forward to it this upcoming Thursday when we can stop projecting and start really formulating our final rookie rankings.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait. Hopefully you guys can't either. But that's going to do it for us here today. So thanks for tuning in. For myself, for Tyler, for Goal Line Dynasty, we will see you next time after the NFL draft.